but his only purpose was to do the work in the attribute of tiferet, which means beauty or balance. But that's a Kabbalistic Sephira energy center of beauty or balance or harmony. If you'd like to actually go and take a look at the source sheet, even have it in front of you as you're listening to the shiur, go to our website, which is HebrewLearningCircles.org. Go to Jewish Resources, scroll down to Parsha Videos, and you'll find the source sheet right there. So what is the essential energy or attribute that distinguishes each one of the forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is one of the questions that the Ishbitzer is going to touch on from it's kind of a very basic Kabbalistic angle. And how was Jacob's role in the development of the people of Israel unique from that of his father Isaac and grandfather Abraham? Which is an interesting distinction, because most of the time we think of the three as a team, that they're one of the same, but they're not, according to the Ishbitzer. And we actually touched on this a couple of parshas ago, but now we're actually back to the parsha that matters, because there he's actually dealing with Yosef. This is where we see that distinction full on. So what does this teach us about each, our unique purpose and essential characteristics? It's a metaphor for our lives. And the Ishbitzer will tell us that Jacob balanced the attributes of his ancestors and met the challenges that were unique to his time and his place. And how do we?
We begin with Yosef, the number 11 of the 12 sons, the second to youngest. He's got highfalutin dreams. He annoys his brothers. The brothers are jealous, just skimming the surface here. Yeah. They conspire to, at first, to kill him. Then they are convinced by one of the brothers that they should instead sell him. He's sold into slavery, into Egypt. And Yosef is now challenged. He's in Egypt. He's gained status in the home of an important person in Egypt. And now he is challenged. There's an attempted seduction by this man's wife. And he is thrown in prison. And the narrative ends this week with Yosef HaTzadik, who, wherever he is, he rises to the top. He's a very interesting person with a lot of qualities. And we know that Yaakov was away from home for actually a total of 36 years. Now he's finally come home, and he's settling back where his father and grandfather had settled, in Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, and Hebron. But unfortunately, he's going to have troubles now with children. And this came as a result of him favoring one son over the others.
So the verse is, VaYeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv be'eretz Canaan. Jacob was settled, as you just said, rebellion, in the land where his father had dwelt, the land of Canaan. And actually Chazal asks, why the repetition? We know that he was settled already from the previous chapter. Why does it say that he's settled in the land of his father? That's obvious, we know that too. And why does it say Eretz Canaan? We know that his father lived in the Eretz Canaan. So there's so much redundancy, we know there's more. So the Ishbitzer goes and says, Hine bezot hasidra, התחיל לברר את הבירורים שבין ישראל. So here in this parsha, finally he starts to sort out the things that need to be sorted out amongst his children, the children of Israel, which are the 12 sons, 12 tribes. והנה, אברהם אבינו, עליו השלום, היה שורשו מידת אהבה. And to put this in context, let me tell you that Abraham, our father, may peace be upon him, his root was the quality of love. היינו, היה מברר כל אהבות שבעולם, שלא יאהב שום דבר, עולם הזה זולת רצון השם יתברך. That it means that he was sorting through all the loves, or I guess the available loves, right, the potential loves in the world, to make sure that he doesn't love something of this world which is contrary to the will of the Holy One.
Right. So here, as you alluded to, Rebbe Ruvain, we're getting into this idea of the Kabbalistic personality traits, which, of course, we are a microcosm of that. We are an expression of the divine, emotional, intellectual personality traits. Love and fear, the giving of and the holding back of. And so let's just talk about love for a moment, because we're talking right now about Avraham. We'll get to Yitzchak in a minute. The spiritual clarification of the idea of love, the channeling, the proper channeling of love. And they say love is love. Love is love. I've been hearing that a lot recently. Of course, it has no intrinsic meaning. It's a valueless thing. They mean something else. What they really mean is there's no boundaries. So that's what he's saying, that Avram Avinu was all about separating out from what was going on in the world at that time, which is sort of what's going on in our world today. It's come around full circle, the unbridled release of the love energy. People who are interested in Buddhism know what one of the 8 principles, foundational principles, is the very carefully constricted boundaries around the idea of love.
I see him because it says here, Zulat Ratzon Hashem Yitbarach, meaning the will of God. That means that there is love that's aligned with the will of God, and there's love that's not aligned with the will of God. And he's sorting through what's one and what's the other, to make sure that he can follow only that which is on a divine level. And I would say, on the lower level, you have the love that's desire, just plain desire. Because what you said, love is love, that means there's no distinction, as if there's only, there's just a simple feeling or a simple heartthrob, But it's not. In fact, love has many different gradations.
It has to be understood intellectually what exactly love is, a holy love, and how I can exercise myself and strengthen myself so that I train myself so that my expression of love is going in the right places. And that's what Avram Avinu was here. That's what he was all about.
That what his life was, the purpose of his life was to do this sorting, and he did it for all of us, for the future,
right.
As we're going to see. So,
right.
ויצחק היה מבורר בזאת המידה, כי הוא נולד מאברהם אבינו, אחר כל הבירורים שבירר את עצמו. This is very interesting, actually, thought. In Isaac, he was already clarified, or he had that sorted through for himself, in meaning the attribute of love, because he was born from Abraham, our father. After Abraham has sorted through this, so Yitzchak is already starting one step ahead. He's gotten this thing already clarified. That was not his work anymore. That's done. Abraham did that for him, and you could also say by extension, he doesn't say this, but I'm offering this for all future generations. ומידתו הייתה רק לברר מידות היראה. His purpose or his quality was to sort through the attribute of fear or awe, fear/awe. היינו לברר כל היראות, שלא ירא משום גוון רק מהשם לבדו. Meaning that his job was to sort through all the different kinds of fears. So again, we can't say fear is fear, right? We know that. All different levels of fear, exactly. שלא ירא משום גוון, that he should not be afraid from anything but from God alone.
Exactly.
Interesting.
No, I mean, we're saying it together, but when the Baal Shem Tov's father was going to be nifter, going to pass away on his deathbed, he told his son, who was going to grow up to be the Baal Shem Tov, don't fear. One of the things he told him was never be afraid of anything in this world, only be afraid of God.
So that's what's unique to Isaac. And אצל יעקב אבינו, היו אלו השניים מבוארים היטב. Now, what happens with the next generation?
Yeah, he's got no job left, no job.
Well, we'll see, right? See. So Jacob now is the son of Isaac and the grandson of Abraham. So those two attributes were already sorted out for him pretty well, right? He grew up with, love was, that work has been done. Fear, that work has been done. But his only purpose was to do the work in the attribute of tiferet, which means beauty or balance. I mean, there's different ways but that's a Kabbalistic sephira, energy center of beauty or balance or harmony. Hainu explains further. בריח התיכון לסדר היראה למקומה ובעונתה וכן אהבה. היינו בריח התיכון. בריח התיכון means it is the central bolt. This is taken from Exodus, from the description of the building of the temple. And there is a bolt at the center of the doors. You could say the center bolt or lock that's holding. And there's a lot of Kabbalistic commentary on what that means, but the point is it's in the middle. It's exactly in the middle, holding both sides. There's a door on the right, there's a gate on the right, and a gate on the left, you could say, and that's what it's holding. And so too, Yaakov is holding, on one side is holding the love of his father and the fear of the love of his grandfather, the fear of his father. In order to make sure that fear is put in its proper place and its proper time, and the same for love. So he's implementing.
Love, even if love is channeled correctly, a person could become swept away. Mm-hmm. Even in spiritual matters, a person could become a little bit overly excited. It's called hitpa'alut in Chassidus. So the whole service of Yaakov was to take his father's thing and his grandfather's things and fuse them into a balanced life, synchronize them into the idea of a balanced life, spiritual life. That was his thing.
והנה בימי אברהם אבינו עליו השלום לא יצא מפורש עומק יקרת אומה ישראלית. And here we see that in the days of Abraham, our forefather, may peace be upon him, the depth of the preciousness of the value of Israel has not come out fully. וכן בימי יצחק, ולכן היו צריכים להתברר ממידות האומות ולהפריש עצמם מכוחם. And it's the same in the days of Yitzchak. And that's why both of them needed to sort through and separate themselves from the qualities of the nations of the world. Technically, you see that Abraham had several children, and he had to choose one of them to continue the lineage of Israel, and that one was Yitzchak. In other words, Ishmael got to be the head of a different nation, of the Arabs. But so the distinction, the identity of what is the lineage and legacy of Israel was under Abraham's watch. He had to say, okay, this son is going to continue my particular legacy to start the people of Israel. Yitzchak had the same thing. He had two sons, and he had to decide one son becomes the father of Edom, of a different nation, a big nation that we're still under. Right? But then Yaakov becomes the person who the son who will continue the lineage of the people of Israel. But for Yaakov, it's different. He does not need to do that anymore. And here he says, so for Yaakov did not have to bother with other peoples, because he had the 12 tribes, שכולם מתאימות, ואין בהם שום נטייה מרצון השם יתברך, that all of them are fitting for the mission of continuing the people of Israel. By the way, which also highlights that the people of Israel is not a random. It's not Israel is Israel, but the people of Israel also have a certain mission, a certain purpose, and here we're building towards that purpose. And so all the 12, they were fit for that, and they had nothing that would distract them away from God's will in that respect. רק עסקיו היה בהם עצמם לברר איזה מהם מוקדם ואיזה מהם מאוחר. And this is where Yaakov's challenge is. And now we'll see that the challenge was even greater, you could say. The Ishmael says, from that of his father and grandfather. And his focus was to sort out which of his children are first and which are later, or, which are on the top, which on the bottom. He had to kind of figure out the hierarchy, you could say. Vehine gam mizeh saval Yaakov Avinu, and from this was another source of great distress for our father Jacob, because ki haya savur sheYosef hu hamuvchar, because he thought that Joseph was the chosen one, the favorite one, or the best, you could say, of all of the 12 brothers. V'gam Yosef savur ken, and also Yosef thought so, and we hear that through the dreams. Ve'elu en berurim dakin ben Israel. And here the Ishmael does not conclude, which is interesting. He says, and these are very subtle kind of things to sort through. What I hear is, look how much more challenging it is to figure that out. Ben Yisrael Atzmam, amongst the qualities of the people, or the children of Israel themselves. Moshe Baer, as he will explain at a later time, this is where Ishbitzer concludes.
Right. So it's very interesting. I hear it too at the end here, and we've said this many times, that the Ishbitzer in his day was a kind of a controversial figure, and this is an example of that. He's implying that Avraham Avinu did his job properly, Yitzchak Avinu did his birurim properly and efficiently. Yaakov Avinu failed in his birurim. He's balanced. He's harmony is another word for Tiferes. His attribute is Tiferes, but because of his favoring of one son over the others, it ended up being anything but harmony.
So I want to add to that it seems like he's handed that to the future generation. So he's not done with that, so it's on us. And this is where it gets interesting, so how do we complete that? Harmonizing
Right, and I mean, that's the story of Klal Yisrael, is that the factionalism of Klal Yisrael. It's the old story, and understanding, harmonizing between the Bnei Yisrael. It's a family.
So we know it. We can empathize with Yaakov. It's like.
Yeah.
I see. So here's how I see it. So Avram and Yitzchak, they're like the guru on the mountain. All they have to do is go really deep into this one topic, and figure it out. And there's obviously it's an important role, right? But Yaakov, he's not alone on the mountain. He's in a big family. It's much more messy. So his challenge is is our challenge. If I'm only looking at love, I can be a scientist. I can go kind of laser cut into it and figure it out. If I'm only looking at fear, but if I'm looking at like life, trying to bring it all together.
Yes, right.
Yeah, that's the challenge of Yaakov, and I'm actually not exactly sure where the Ishbitzer is going with this, because he kind of just leaves it open ended. He doesn't really wrap it up. He he says, "Well, this is to be explained later." It's like,
listen, he was living through it. The conflict between the Hasidim and the not Hasidim, and and at the same time, the Cossacks were chasing everybody around. In a few days is Hanukkah, and this story, what we're learned today, has a lot to do with people. The very, very disturbing history of what really happened in Hanukkah. They'll see that what the Ishbitzer is talking about, this interscene, the infighting, that's what this was actually all about. Right.
There was a civil war underneath the national world.
Yeah.
On the note of that, it's upon us to make it better. Right. To finish Yaakov's work. We will conclude for today. Thank everybody for learning with us and with the Ishbitzer. God willing, next week on Wednesday, we will be here again. And thank you all. Shalom for now. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. Also share and like. Click subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. We really appreciate that. Like to have that extra layer of connection with you. Like and subscribe. Come back next Wednesday, 9:00 in the morning.